Man, I swear the only time I wear one of these is for these videos. What a great use of my money. Anyway, hi, my name's AnxiousJoe, and I just finished my first semester at MIT. I'm here to tell you today about my honest reflections and a recap of what happened this semester. The biggest question you guys probably want to know is it really as hard as everyone says it is? And my answer to you, so far, it's not that bad. And let me explain why I think I might have a skewed perspective on this. Basically, we were not allowed on campus this semester. Only seniors were allowed on campus. I am a freshman, so I did not get an opportunity to go and take classes in person. So I was off campus. I'm still living in my hometown, and I was taking all my classes virtually. I had a very boring semester in terms of a social life because all my friends left, but more on that later. So I guess the biggest thing that I realized is school is probably a lot easier this semester than it was for previous semesters or just normal semesters. When you're in the virtual class, they let you use your notes during the test because they can't really stop kids from using their notes. And I think, for at least for me, a big part of learning and just the most of the time that I spend studying for tests is like memorizing equations, memorizing how to do certain problems. When you're virtual and you have open note tests, it's like I can just look at my notebook, which is not cheating right now, and just look and see, what is this equation? How do you do this certain problem? It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be, and that was a very pleasant surprise. But I mean, it was still definitely a grind. People ask me a lot too, how many hours per week did you spend on school or homework and stuff like that? I think I spent for classes about 15 to 20 hours on Zoom per week. And as for homework or like outside of classes, studying, doing stuff, whatever, I would say I spent about 2 to 3 hours per day. Per week, that would be about 10 to 15 hours. So in total, I'm spending about the same amount of time as I did in high school on school. And the funny thing is, I actually got more sleep this semester than I did during almost all of high school. I think I got about 7 to 8 hours of sleep per day. And the big part of that was I had nothing to do other than school. I mean, I had clubs, but they were like on Zoom, and like I could just sit at my computer and do them. So I had less time commitment to extracurricular activities. I had no friends around me because they all went to college. I was like basically the only one who stayed here. Which made me very, very jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I was questioning all the time what the hell I was doing with my life because I saw my friends having a great time in college. I was sitting in this freaking room for about 75% of the day, every single day, and just kind of wasting away. So that was a little bit depressing. And I guess I'll get into another thing that people will probably be asking about. How does it feel to be in a school full of geniuses? And as someone who doesn't consider myself a genius, it was extraordinarily intimidating. When you don't walk into a Zoom, what am I saying? When you go into a Zoom room and then you start introducing yourselves to other freshmen, and they talk about how they won gold medals in freaking physics Olympiad, how they did an internship over the summer, people who started their own businesses, people who are just a ton more successful than you are. It is impossible not to feel imposter syndrome. I'm gonna make a whole video dedicated to imposter syndrome in the near future, but for those of you who don't know, imposter syndrome is when someone feels like they don't deserve where they are, or basically their accomplishments or something like that. Coming from a public high school where, to be completely honest, I felt like I always was at the top in terms of someone who could achieve academically, someone who could understand and learn things at a high level. I felt like I was near the top most of the time during high school. Going from that to going to MIT where I consistently feel like I'm below average, that is something I hadn't experienced for a very long time. Feeling like you're drowning and struggling to catch up, that was something that took a lot of adjusting to. And no matter what, people will tell you all the time when you're going to a school like this, be prepared to no longer feel like the smartest person in the room ever again. Basically, be prepared to always feel like you're running behind. And I took that to heart. I really thought that, I completely understood that advice. But it turns out I did not. One thing that people will tell you, especially MIT, but other colleges too, is that it's very easy to overload. You'll see opportunities to do things, you'll see classes you want to take, and you'll put too much on your plate. In high school, all I did was take a bunch of hard classes and then play tennis. That was basically my entire schedule. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even playing tennis anymore. I have so much more free time. Let me do a bunch of clubs. Let me do a bunch of other things. And I think I ended up overloading a little bit too much. I thought I was never gonna be the type to overload on things, but it turns out it's so easy to do that because you see so many opportunities. You go to a school, you pay like fucking $70,000 a year to attend, and you're like, well, I better make the most of it and do as much shit as I can. But one thing that you have to learn, and it was a hard lesson for me to learn, is you need a balance. You need to figure out what things you actually want to do and what things are not that important, and dedicate yourself more fully to the things that you actually want to do in the first place. Whether it's a social situation, whether it's a certain assignment, whether it's just a new club or a new opportunity, you just have to learn how to say no. Because at the end of the day, if you're spending all your time working, life is kind of sucky. That's what I figured out very much too hardly. Much too hardly. Am I fucking like Shakespeare or something? No, Shakespeare wouldn't say something that stupid. Anyway.
What the fuck?
One thing I did notice was that diversity is extremely high in, basically every way. I mean, there's still a lot of Asians, which is kind of, let's be honest, a little bit expected. But it was the first time in my life I had an Asian teacher. Sorry, not teachers, professor. I'm still in the high school mindset. I still haven't gone to campus, so I still feel like I'm in high school, which is stupid. But anyway, for the first time in my life, I had an Asian professor, I had a black professor, and a European professor. And that has never happened to me. Every single teacher I've ever had in my entire life was just an American, a white American. And I'll be completely honest, I come from a very, very classic suburban town. And so everyone here is financially secure, most of them. It's like you'll never hear people talking really about hardships because we don't really go through that here. It's a very nice neighborhood, and I'm very grateful for it. But going to MIT, there's people talking about how they got free tuition because of financial aid, but they still were struggling to afford MIT because that financial aid doesn't cover their housing and their other expenses. And that was extremely eye-opening to me because, again, I come from a very well-off area. I saw another angle of the socioeconomic ladder that I was never really exposed to over the past several years. And just the way people view things, like different ethnicities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, that definitely changed your outlook on life so much, and geographic locations too. It was great to expand the little bubble I was in a little bit more than it was during high school because, like I said, living in a very typical suburban town, not much diversity whatsoever in basically any aspect you can think of. One aspect of MIT culture that I felt was extremely positive was the fact that people fully embrace people who bitch all the time. And there's this thing at Stanford that people call duck syndrome, where basically people like pretend that they're fine because it's Stanford, it's in California, it's a great school. People apparently there a lot of the time will not talk about the bad things that are happening to them because they feel like it's such a great situation and they don't want to complain about it. Well, MIT, we have a very, very different mindset. Almost the opposite from what I can tell. It's like people bitch and complain all the time, and people actually embrace it. If you start complaining about something, someone else, instead of like saying, why are you so whiny? Most of the time, they'll start complaining about something else as well. I mean, it's kind of like a mini therapy session, and it kind of works. It's pretty nice. And people will talk about all the time how MIT is super collaborative. I'll tell you, that rumor is not false. Honestly, from what I can tell, it's 100% true. People should stress even more how much of a supportive environment this is. Because one thing I heard a lot of the time was like, MIT is so hard that people have to like team up together or to beat the school. And that's pretty true. I feel like for most of the problem sets I did not do them alone. I did them either on a Zoom call, with other people via Discord. I got so much help through the semester, and I feel like I would have spent more on my homework if it wasn't for that. People are just so willing to help. Like there's these class Discords. If you have a question, people will almost answer like immediately. Like whether it was a classmate, a random student, a teacher, a professor, a staff member. It was so easy to find help, and I don't expect that to change. It was such a positive thing. I can't say enough about how collaborative it actually really is here. One thing I forgot to mention is that every single class, their first semester is conducted on pass and a record, which is basically pass-fail. Basically, it means that anything above a C is a pass. There's no point in getting an A because if you just get a C, you'll still get credit for the class and it won't be counted against you. If you get a D or lower, you fail the class. But in this case, you'll fail the class, but it won't go in your transcript. It'll just show like nothing there. So basically, it's just like you never took the class, which is great for first years because we're getting into the groove of MIT. I actually think I got straight A's this semester, and that was unexpected. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that, again, it was open note, and I spent much more time than I think I should have on school, considering it was passing a record. And I think I have an explanation for that. It's because with all my friends gone, with tennis gone, with a lot of the things I love to do gone, I was kind of looking for anything that would make me feel like normal times again. I didn't have very much in my life that felt like it was normal. I felt like I was almost spiraling out of control for a little bit. My mental health was not the best, as it probably wasn't for a lot of people. And the one thing that made me feel a little bit like it was normal times was school. Trying to get good grades, trying to do well in school. And I grinded a lot more than I should have. Like, I spent much more time than I needed to pass the class. Why did I do that? There's no point in doing that. I should have gotten straight C's, but I didn't because I was try-harding still in the semester because I had nothing else to do. I just was clenching onto any sense of normalcy that I had. Honestly, what else was I gonna do? Like, I'm just sitting here on my computer doing Zooms all day. I would just be doing more Zooms or just watching YouTube videos. One bright side is that I'm basically, hopefully, guaranteed to go back to school starting, not back to school. People keep saying back to school as freshmen, even though we haven't been to campus. So I'm going to be starting school on campus this February. And I'll finally be able to make some videos about on-campus life at MIT. And let's be real here. The day in my life videos for college students, those get so many views, man. And you know what? As a YouTuber, let's be real here. I'm all about the views. You better believe it. I'm making some day in the life videos when I get on campus. I'm so excited to do it, honestly. Like, I see my friends going on campus. They're having so much fun. They're already back on campus already. Most schools started in January this month already. And so I'm basically going to school probably 6 months after my friends started going on campus. And I got a lot of fun to catch up on. You know what I mean? I'll be wearing masks and social distancing, obviously, but I'll be having a lot more fun on campus than I am in this small, tiny little space I'm cramped in right now. If you stuck around for the entire video, it means you probably liked the video, so you should probably hit the like button, subscribe. I'm going to be dropping videos 1 to 2 times a week until I get onto campus, and from there, I'll be posting on-campus videos, which should be a lot more interesting. But yeah, that's about it for today. See you guys later. Have a great day. Stay anxious, everyone, and peace.